I didn't even notice him at first. All I saw was the empty seat beside me, aisle 3, row 9. On a flight from Los Angeles to Seoul, I'd pray for that empty seat the way people pray for miracles. I had a stack of textbooks in my backpack, a neck pillow around my shoulders, and the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, I'd have enough space to breathe on the 13-hour flight across the world. But then he came. A man, tall and graceful, moving with a kind of quiet confidence that made everyone glance up as he walked down the aisle. I remember clutching the strap of my bag tighter, lowering my gaze, like if I didn't look too closely, maybe my imagination wouldn't betray me. But when he stopped at my row, everything inside me froze, because he wasn't just a man, he was him. Taehyung BTS, the idol whose voice had lived in my headphones when I was too tired to keep going, whose smile I had only ever seen through screens oceans away. And he was standing in front of me, ticket in hand, eyes meeting mine for just a second before he said, in a low voice that carried more music than any song I'd ever heard, "Excuse me, I think this is my seat. My seatmate." No, this wasn't real. I fumbled, my hands clumsy as I scrambled to let him through. Oh, right, sorry. My voice cracked like glass. He smiled politely, sliding into the seat beside me. He smelled like clean cologne and something warmer, something I couldn't place. Leather? Coffee? Something that didn't belong to airports at all. I didn't look at him. I couldn't, because if I looked too long, I'd remember every lyric, every stage. Every moment I thought he belonged to the world and never to me. The plane hummed around us. Passengers shuffled in, flight attendants clipped seatbelts into place. I stared straight ahead, fingers digging crescents into my palms. If I didn't breathe too loudly, maybe I could pretend, and then he spoke again. "You don't like flying?" I turned my head slowly, almost against my will. His eyes were on me, brown, soft, and impossibly close. I swallowed hard. No, I just wasn't expecting anyone to sit here. He tilted his head slightly, studying me. Lucky then. Most of the time I sit next to people who try to talk the whole flight. "Oh," I blurted, my heart pounding. Do you not like talking?" That smile flickered again, quieter this time, like a secret. "Depends who it's with," my chest tightened. I wanted to look away, to disappear into the seat, but the way he said it, like the air between us belonged to no one else, made it impossible. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. Hours stretched in silence. The seatbelt sign blinked off. The flight took to the sky. And still, I could feel the awareness of him beside me, the way his shoulders shifted when he leaned back, the quiet rhythm of his breathing. It was unbearable. It was intoxicating. When the lights dimmed for dinner service, he leaned a little closer, voice low, like he was confessing something dangerous. "You're American?" "Yes," I whispered. "From Chicago." He nodded. "You speak Korean?" "Barely," I admitted, embarrassed. "I can understand a little, not much. That's okay," he said softly. "Sometimes. Silence is better than words." I didn't know if he meant it for me or for himself, but the way he looked at me in that moment, it felt like the whole cabin disappeared. Like he wasn't via BTS, like he was just a man, tired, searching for something or someone to anchor him. And I was that someone. I should have pulled away. I should have remembered who he was, what he meant to the world. But instead I whispered back, "I don't mind silence." "Not with you." His eyes lingered on mine longer than they should have. Long enough to make me believe I had crossed into a place I didn't belong. The flight attendant came with trays, breaking the spell, and I pretended to focus on the food I wasn't hungry for. But his voice haunted the edges of my thoughts, circling back again and again. "Depends who it's with. Silence is better than words." "Not with you." The plane was dark. Passengers drifted into uneasy sleep. The world outside was nothing but endless clouds, endless night. And then his voice, again softer this time, meant only for me. "Can I tell you a secret?" I turned to him slowly, my pulse roaring in my ears. "What kind of secret?" "The kind," he said, his lips curving, "that could get me in trouble." I held my breath. Every part of me screamed to walk away, to shut my eyes, to let the moment pass like a dream. But I didn't. I leaned closer, my voice trembling. "Tell me." And that's when everything began. I didn't sleep a single second on that flight. How could I, when every time the engines roared, I wondered if his shoulder might brush mine, if his breath would catch when he shifted, if his secrets, whatever they were, would spill into the dark between us. But when we landed in Seoul, reality snapped back into place. Because he disappeared. Not in a cruel way, not even in a dramatic one. He just slipped on a mask, a cap, and walked down the aisle ahead of me, and suddenly he was gone. Swallowed by bodyguards, cameras, flashing lights I could see from the window. I sat frozen in my seat until the last passenger left, my chest hollow and my heart screaming. That was supposed to be it. Just a flight. Just coincidence. But the thing about chance meetings is, they don't fade when they're not supposed to happen. I should tell you about me. Because if you're imagining someone glamorous, someone who could possibly belong in his world, you're wrong. My name is Emily. I was 23. Just a graduate student from Chicago, majoring in art history, clinging to a scholarship that barely covered rent. I lived in oversized sweaters, pulled all-nighters, ate too many instant noodles. The only reason I was even on that plane was because of a study abroad program in Seoul. 6 months, that's all. 6 months of library stacks, coffee shops, subway rides, and struggling through conversations in Korean with polite strangers who smiled when I stumbled over words. Ordinary, utterly forgettable. And then there was him. The boy whose posters hung in dorm rooms, whose face lit up stadium screens, whose voice held the kind of beauty that could break something inside you. Kim Taehyung. Even saying his name felt dangerous. Like I was betraying the truth of my own life by daring to whisper it. Because people like him weren't supposed to sit beside people like me on airplanes. And people like me weren't supposed to remember how his eyes lingered, or the way he asked if I didn't like flying, or the way he leaned in just a little too close when the world outside was nothing but darkness. I tried to forget. I buried myself in classes, and wandering through markets with my classmates, and sketching the old palaces with frozen fingers. I filled my days with noise so the silence wouldn't remind me of him. But at night in my tiny rented apartment, when the city lights blurred against my window, my mind betrayed me. Can I tell you a secret? His voice replayed like a broken record, over and over, until I couldn't breathe. What would he have said if the flight hadn't landed? What truth was he holding that could get him in trouble? And why did he choose me, the girl with messy hair and textbooks spilling from her bag, to whisper it to? I hated myself for wanting to know, because wanting to know meant wanting him. And wanting him. That was the most dangerous betrayal of all. Not just to reality, not just to myself, but to him. Because I knew what his life was. I'd seen the news, the crowds, the endless flash of cameras. I'd seen the way fans clung to every smile, every breath. He belonged to millions. He belonged to the world. And yet, some traitorous part of me whispered, for one night, for one flight, he belonged to me. I remember walking along the Han River one evening, my scarf tied around my throat, the wind slicing through the air. I told myself it was just chance. Just fate teasing me with something impossible. But then I heard his laugh. It was faint, muffled by distance and wind. But it was his, unmistakable. I froze on the path, my breath stuttering in my chest. I told myself it couldn't be. Seoul was massive. Millions of people, thousands of voices. But when I turned, there he was, not on a screen, not on a stage. Not even in an airport surrounded by cameras. Just him, Taehyung, a scarf pulled high, a cap low over his face, a coffee cup warming his hands. And for the smallest, most impossible moment, his gaze found mine. And he stopped. Like he remembered me too. The world tilted. My pulse roared in my ears. I should have run. I should have looked away, blended back into the city where I belonged. But I didn't. I stood there, frozen, as he started walking toward me. And with every step he took, the truth sank deeper into my bones. This wasn't coincidence anymore. This was the beginning of something I wasn't allowed to want. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my hands trembling against the blanket. Do you know what it feels like to want something you cannot have? Not because it's wrong in the obvious ways, but because it's wrong in ways that would destroy everything if you dared to touch it. That's what it was. Wanting him was betrayal. Betrayal of the millions who loved him. Betrayal of the rules that kept his life untouchable. Betrayal of my own reality, the one that insisted he was never supposed to look at me the way he did by the river. But when I closed my eyes, I saw him anyway. The boy on the plane. The boy who whispered secrets he never told. And the boy who, against every reason, every rule, looked at me like I wasn't invisible. I knew then it wasn't just coincidence. It wasn't just fate. It was temptation. and temptation doesn't disappear. And so, with my heart pounding, my life splitting into two, the safe one I was supposed to live, and the dangerous one I was already falling into, I whispered into the dark of my tiny apartment, "I want him." And the moment the words left my lips, I knew I had already betrayed everything. The second time I saw him, I convinced myself I was dreaming. It was too surreal, the kind of thing you only read about, or maybe imagine on nights when loneliness gnaws at you and you let yourself drift into impossible fantasies. But it wasn't a dream, because he said my name. Emily, I swear I forgot how to breathe. I was standing on the bank of the Han River again, sketchbook balanced in my hands, trying to capture the way the sun dipped gold across the water. I hadn't even noticed him approach. But when I looked up, there he was, cap low, scarf wound tight, eyes lit with something dangerous. "You remember me?" My voice trembled, half a whisper. "How could I forget?" He said softly. Every warning in my head screamed at me to leave. To thank him politely, to walk away, to protect us both from the storm I could already feel rising. But instead, I asked the question that had been burning since that flight. "What secret were you going to tell me?" He chuckled then, a low, warm sound that curled around me like smoke. "You haven't stopped thinking about it, have you?" I wanted to lie. I wanted to pretend I had a life full enough to forget him, but the truth slipped out anyway. "No, I haven't." He studied me, eyes lingering like he was searching for something only he could see. Then, quietly, he said, "The secret is, sometimes I don't want to be V, sometimes I just want to be Taehyung." His words lodged in my chest, sharp and aching. I swallowed. "And who's Taehyung?" He smiled, but it wasn't the kind of smile I'd seen on screens. It wasn't polished or practiced. It was raw, almost boyish. Someone who buys coffee at midnight. Someone who walks by the river when he can't sleep. Someone who sometimes wants to talk to strangers on airplanes. My throat tightened. And why me? His gaze didn't waver. "Because you didn't treat me like him. You looked at me like I was just a person. I didn't know what to do with that." My heart was pounding so loudly I was afraid he could hear it. So I did the only thing I could. I laughed nervously, shaking my head. "You have no idea how untrue that is." His brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" I hugged my sketchbook tighter. "You think I didn't know who you were? That I haven't," my voice caught. "That I haven't listened to your music 1,000 times? You think I didn't notice every single detail on that plane?" I just pretended. For a long moment he was silent. Then he stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Pretending is good," he murmured. "Maybe that's what we both need." Something electric cracked in the air between us. My body screamed at me to back away, but I didn't move. Not when his hand brushed against mine, so lightly I almost thought I imagined it. And not when he whispered, "Do you want to keep pretending with me?" I should have said no. I should have walked away. Instead, I whispered back, "Yes." From that moment, everything changed. It started small. A text message from an unknown number. "Are you awake?" I stared at the glowing screen in my dark apartment, my breath shaking. Then I typed back, "Yes," and just like that, the silence of the city broke open. We talked about nothing and everything. The best street food in Seoul. The frustration of language barriers. The way the city lights looked like stars when you crossed the bridges at night. And sometimes, in the quiet between our words, I felt the weight of all the things we weren't saying. One night, he texted, "Do you believe in fate?" I stared at the message for what felt like forever before answering. "I don't know, do you?" His reply came instantly, "I want to." I clutched my phone to my chest, tears burning at the back of my eyes. Because fate was the only excuse I had for why this was happening. The first time we touched, really touched, it was accidental. Or maybe it wasn't. We were sitting on a bench near the river, hoodies pulled up, pretending we were just two strangers passing time. He leaned in to see my sketchbook, the lines I had drawn of the water, of the bridges, of the shadows. "You see the world differently," he murmured. I shook my head. "No, I just try to catch it before it disappears." He reached out then, his hand covering mine where it held the pencil. His touch was warm, grounding. Too much and not enough all at once. "Don't let this disappear," he whispered. My breath caught. I couldn't look at him. If I did, I knew I'd fall and never find my way back. But his hand didn't move, and neither did mine. The silence stretched, heavy and fragile, until finally I whispered, "We're not supposed to be doing this." "I know," he said softly. "And yet, Neither of us pulled away. Nights blurred together. Secret meetings. Hidden laughter. The way his eyes softened when he looked at me, not like I was a fan, not like I was a stranger, but like I was something he had been searching for. And I was drowning in him. Every time my phone buzzed, my pulse raced. Every time I saw his name, my chest ached. Every time he whispered my name, I wanted to forget the whole world. It was dangerous. It was addictive. It was everything I had ever wanted and everything I was supposed to fear. The last night of winter, snow falling in delicate flakes across the city, he pulled me close in a shadowed alley, his scarf brushing my cheek. His voice was barely more than breath when he said, "I wish you knew how hard it is not to touch you when the world is watching." My knees weakened, my heart nearly broke through my ribs. And before I could stop myself, before I could remember all the reasons why this was wrong, I whispered, "Then don't stop." For a single stolen heartbeat, his lips hovered near mine, close enough that the world ceased to exist. And just as the snow caught in his lashes, as the night threatened to swallow us whole, a camera flash went off in the distance. We both froze. The camera flash split the night like lightning. For a heartbeat, I was sure the world had ended, that every secret, every stolen word and touch, had been caught, frozen in a photograph that would ruin him, ruin us. But then nothing happened. No crowd, no paparazzi rushing forward. Just the quiet hiss of snow falling against pavement, the cold biting into our skin. It was just a car. Taehyung whispered finally, though I heard the strain in his voice. Headlights, I nodded, even though my pulse was still racing, my hands trembling. But when he reached for my hand, sliding his fingers through mine, he didn't let go. "Come on," he murmured. "Let's get out of here." That became our rhythm. Always running, always hiding. He would text at odd hours, a simple meet me, and I would drop everything, books, assignments, friends, just to follow him into the quiet corners of a city that didn't know us together. We learned to move like shadows. Hats pulled low, scarves high, slipping into cafes where the lights were dim and the windows fogged. Once, in a tiny ramen shop, we sat so close our knees touched under the table. He leaned forward, whispering, "Do you know what it feels like to want something you can't have?" "Yes," I whispered back. His eyes lingered on mine, dark and burning. "Then you know how much it hurts to keep wanting it anyway." I wanted to tell him to stop, to let me go, to protect himself from me from this. But instead, I reached across the table, brushing my fingers against his. A touch small enough to be hidden, big enough to change everything. The text became constant. "Are you awake?" "I can't sleep." "I'm tired, but I don't want to stop." And sometimes when I closed my eyes, I heard his voice reading the words. Low, soft, filled with a longing that felt too heavy to hold. But the more we fell into each other, the more the shadows pressed in. One night, we were walking along the river, laughing quietly about something small, his terrible attempt at an American accent, when a girl passed us. She slowed, her eyes narrowing, her phone already in her hand. I panicked. My heart shot straight to my throat, but Taehyung. He just smiled at her, gentle, distant, the kind of smile that meant nothing and everything. And she froze, stunned, like she couldn't believe what she'd seen. When she finally walked away, he slipped his hand into mine and whispered, "They see what they want to see." Tonight, she won't believe her own eyes, but I did. And I couldn't shake the dread curling deep in my stomach. Because the truth was simple, we couldn't stay hidden forever. I started lying. To my classmates, to my professors, to anyone who asked why I disappeared at odd hours. Studying, library, family call. Each excuse felt heavier than the last. I wasn't just lying for myself, I was lying for him. For us. And the more I lied, the more I realized I wasn't Emily anymore. I was someone else, someone who belonged to a secret. There were moments, though, that made me forget the danger. The night he taught me a few phrases in Korean, our voices overlapping, laughter echoing in the tiny apartment where he insisted no one could find us. The time he brushed a snowflake out of my hair, his fingers lingering too long, his eyes soft like he was memorizing me. Or the night he asked, quietly, if I wasn't V. If I was just Taehyung, would you still look at me the same? Yes, I whispered instantly. But the truth was sharper, heavier. I looked at him because he was both. Because he was the boy I shouldn't love, and the man I couldn't stop loving anyway. The first crack came one rainy afternoon. He had fallen asleep on the couch in my apartment, his hoodie pulled up, his hand resting near mine. I was sketching him without realizing it, pencil tracing the softness of his face, the curve of his lips. And then my phone buzzed, a message from my classmate. "Emily, were you at the river yesterday? I swear I saw you with someone. Who was it?" My stomach dropped. I glanced at Taehyung, still sleeping, his breath steady and unguarded. And for the first time, I saw how fragile everything was. One photo, one rumor, one careless word. That was all it would take to destroy him, and I was the risk. When he woke, he caught me staring. His smile was sleepy, disarming. "What?" he murmured, stretching. I forced a smile. "Nothing," but inside I was screaming. Because I knew it was only a matter of time before someone saw us, and when they did, I wouldn't just lose him. I'd be the reason he lost everything. That night, as the rain beat against the windows, he touched my face gently, his thumb brushing my cheek. We weren't alone anymore. One of my classmates slid her phone across the cafe table, her eyes wide. "Isn't this near your apartment?" I looked down at the blurry photo, a man in a hoodie, face hidden, but even blurred, even small. I knew, Taehyung, my throat closed. My fingers went cold around the cup of coffee. I forced a laugh, shaky, too high-pitched. It's Seoul, everyone wears hoodies, but inside I knew someone had seen us. Someone had captured a piece of him in my world, and it was spreading. When I told him that night, my voice cracked. "People are starting to notice." I saw a picture. "I don't care," he cut in sharply. "You should," I snapped, fear choking me. "You're not just anyone, Taehyung. If they find out, then let them," he said, eyes blazing. "Why should I live in fear of loving someone?" I flinched. His words pierced me, both beautiful and terrifying. "Because it's not just you who'll pay the price," I whispered. "It's your members, your fans, your career, don't you see? Being with me doesn't just put you at risk, it puts everything you've built at risk." Silence stretched, heavy, suffocating. Finally, he said, softer, "And what about you? Do you think this doesn't put you at risk too?" I couldn't answer. Because the truth was, I was already paying. Every lie to my friends. Every sleepless night. Every time I looked at him and felt my chest ache with both love and dread, I was already breaking. We argued more after that, not because we didn't love each other, but because we did. Too much. One night, after a late meeting by the river, I pulled away from his hand, tears burning my eyes. "I can't do this anymore," I whispered. His voice broke. "Emily." "No," I shook my head. "I love you. God, I love you. But every day I feel like I'm holding a grenade that's going to explode in my hands. And when it does, it won't just destroy me, it'll destroy you." His face twisted with something I couldn't bear, pain, anger, desperation. "Do you think I don't know that?" He asked, voice raw. "Do you think I don't wake up every morning terrified someone will find us? But I still choose you, every single day. Doesn't that mean anything?" "It means everything," I whispered, my heart splitting. "And that's why I'm so afraid." There was one night, though, when he wouldn't let me run. He cornered me in my tiny apartment, his voice low, shaking. "If you want to leave me, say it," he demanded. "Say you don't love me and I'll walk away." "I won't bother you again." I stared at him, tears streaming, my chest hollow. "I can't say that," I choked. His shoulders sagged. His eyes closed like he'd been holding his breath. And when he opened them again, the fire returned. "Then don't," he whispered. "Don't push me away. Don't pretend we're not worth it." And then he kissed me. It wasn't careful, it wasn't hidden. It was desperate, aching, the kind of kiss that burned and healed at the same time. But love isn't enough when the world wants to tear it apart. Days later, I overheard two fans whispering near campus, their voices hushed but sharp. "Did you see? Someone said Taehyung's been seen with a foreign girl." No way. He'd never risk that. I'm telling you, it's true. There are pictures. Just wait, my blood went cold. He masked it quickly. cupping my face, whispering, "We'll survive this. I'll protect you." But for the first time, I didn't believe him. Not because he was lying, but because some things were bigger than both of us. The war between us grew sharper, love against fear, desire against duty. Some nights I begged him to let me go. Other nights he begged me not to. We were both breaking under the weight of something we couldn't stop. And finally, one night I made the choice he feared most. I told him through tears, "I love you too much to ruin you. So I have to leave." And his reply was so soft, so broken, it shattered me more than anything else. "Then you're betraying us both." It happened faster than I imagined. One moment, our love was hidden in shadows, tucked inside text messages and whispered meetings. The next, it was everywhere. A photo. Just one. Me slipping out of his car. My scarf pulled high, my face half turned. But close enough. Clear enough. The headline screamed, "V of BTS spotted with mystery girl in Seoul. Who is she?" I wanted to vomit. My phone exploded with messages. Friends demanding answers. Classmates whispering. Even my professor asking casually if I had any connection to the rumors flooding the internet. And through it all, one truth pulsed in my veins. I had destroyed him. When I saw Taehyung, his face was pale, his jaw clenched. He closed the door behind him and sank onto my couch, burying his hands in his hair. "They know," I whispered, voice shaking. He didn't look at me. It was always going to happen. Tears stung my eyes. "No, it's my fault. I should have walked away sooner. I should have..." "Stop." His voice was sharp, final. He lifted his head, and the anguish in his eyes nearly undid me. "Don't blame yourself. You think I didn't know the risk every time I texted you? Every time I touched you? This was my choice too. But your career fans, I don't care." He shouted, standing suddenly, his voice breaking. "Do you hear me, Emily? I don't care about any of that if it means losing you." I flinched, sobs breaking free. "You have to care. They love you. They gave you everything, and now they'll hate me." "They'll hate you." He crossed the room in 2 strides, grabbing my face in his hands, forcing me to look at him. "Let them hate me," he said fiercely. "I'd rather be hated for the truth than loved for a lie." I shook my head violently, tears spilling. "And what about the others? Jungkook, Hyun, all of them, did they deserve to suffer because of me? Because you couldn't stay away from me?" His hands trembled against my skin. His eyes were red, burning. "Don't make me choose," he whispered. "Because if you do, I'll choose you." The words should have broken me open with joy. Instead, they shattered me with terror. Because in that moment, I realized what love had turned into. It wasn't sweet anymore. It wasn't safe. It was a war, and we were both losing. The next days blurred into chaos. Online forums dissecting my face. Fans speculating, some defending, others spitting venom. Who does she think she is? She's ruining him. He belongs to us, not her. Every word carved into me like glass. And yet, Taehyung kept coming. Kept calling, kept refusing to let go. But the cracks were widening. One night, we met in the back of a small cafe, the blinds drawn, his cap pulled low. His voice was hoarse, his whole body heavy with exhaustion. "Management knows," he said finally. My heart stuttered. "What did they say?" His jaw tightened. "They told me to end it." Silence roared between us. I swallowed hard. "And will you?" He looked at me then, eyes hollow, desperate. "Do you want me to?" God. The way he asked like my answer was the only thing holding him together nearly destroyed me, but I couldn't lie. "Not this time. Yes," I whispered, tears slipping free. His face broke. He looked away, pressing his fists against his knees like he could crush the pain before it swallowed him. "I can't," he said finally, his voice raw. "I can't let you go, Emily. Don't you understand? You're the only thing that feels real." I reached for his hand, trembling, aching. "And you're the only thing I've ever wanted. But if we keep going, they'll tear you apart. They'll tear us apart." His fingers gripped mine tightly, desperately. "Then let them try." That night ended in pieces, tears, shouts, whispers that clung to my skin like fire. I told him I loved him. He told me he'd fight for me. But as the door closed behind him, I knew the truth neither of us wanted to say. We were already breaking. And then the final blow. My phone lit up the next morning with a headline that made my blood run cold. V's secret romance confirmed? Paparazzi catch midnight meeting. There we were. Me, my face clear this time, my hand in his. Him looking at me like I was the only person in the world. The photo was undeniable. The truth was out. And with it, the choice I had feared all along. I could love him and destroy him. Or leave him and destroy myself. The photos didn't vanish this time. They multiplied. Shared, reposted, dissected until my face was everywhere I didn't want it to be. Some people said I was lucky. Most said I was a thief, but the worst part wasn't the strangers. It wasn't even the headlines, it was Taehyung's silence. For the first time since that flight, he didn't call, didn't text, didn't come. Days passed, then weeks. Each one stretched like a wound that wouldn't close. And then finally a single message, I'm sorry. 2 words. That was all. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred through my tears. My chest ached, my hands shook, but I typed nothing back, because what could I say? Sorry too? Sorry for loving you? Sorry for ruining you? There were no words, not anymore. Months later, I saw him again. Not in person on stage. My classmates dragged me to the concert, unaware of what they were asking of me. I stood in the crowd, pressed between thousands of voices chanting his name, screaming for him, loving him, and there he was. Not Taehyung. Not the boy who bought the seat beside me, who whispered secrets in the dark, who held my hand like the world would shatter if he let go. Shining brighter than the stars, untouchable, unreachable. I told myself not to look too closely, not to hope. But when the lights dimmed, when the music slowed, when he stepped to the edge of the stage, he looked out into the crowd. And for one impossible, unbearable heartbeat, I swore his gaze found mine. My breath caught, my heart stopped. And then he sang. A song about love and loss, about holding someone in secret, about letting them go. His voice cracked on the high note, raw and aching, like it wasn't meant for the world at all, like it was meant for just one person. For me, tears streamed down my face as the crowd roared, oblivious. They heard a performance. I heard a confession. I never saw him again after that. Not in secret meetings, not in quiet alleys, not in the fragile silence of my apartment. But sometimes, late at night, I hear his voice in my memory. Don't let this disappear. And I know I failed him, or maybe I saved him. Maybe it was both. So here's my truth, my confession to you, the one I'll never say out loud anywhere else. I loved him. I still love him. And I will never stop. But loving him was the best and worst thing that ever happened to me, because he sang for the world. And I always believed that song was mine.